you two tables. One, we've seen them before. We have the grades table and a student table. Now the student table is, we imagine a lot of information about the student. We have an ID, we have a student name. The primary key, well, what's unique? It would make sense to use ID. No, people might have the same name, but no one's going to have the same ID. So the student ID is the primary key, and we have a student table. Now, some students take classes. Some of these students are registered for classes and they're getting grades. I'm giving them grades. So anyone who's in my class, which may not be all the students, but whoever's in my class, I'm giving them grades. So what is the primary key here? Well, the student. The student is going to be unique. Everyone gets one final grade in this example. So it's going to be unique. The primary key is going to be student ID. But I also have a foreign key. This student ID has to exist in the student table. There's no way I can assign someone a grade who's not in the student table. If they're not in the student table, they're not at NEIU. They're not a student here. So I can't give them a grade. So everyone in the class has a student ID. So you have to be in the student table. So I can make this student ID a foreign key to ensure that they are in the table, that it's going to be correct. And if I try to give someone a grade who's not in the student table, it won't work. And I'm going to show you that example. So if I go to the code, I'm actually going to first, I wrote it out ahead of time, I'm going to just delete the tables. So to remove tables, just do drop table. Oh, what did I do? Cannot delete or update. Oh, because there's a foreign key. I have to get rid of. Alright, let me do this one first. Okay, got it. I had to do that one first because I had already done the foreign key ahead of time. Alright. Okay, so it didn't let me, until I dropped the one with the foreign key, it didn't let me drop the big one. Okay, but in any event, we didn't learn about foreign keys yet. Now I'm going to show you the foreign key. So I just deleted the tables. They're not there anymore. If we refresh, they should be gone from my list of tables. So they're not here. I just deleted the tables. I used drop. I removed them. They're gone. But don't worry. I have everything saved. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the table, student. Now student has a primary key. We said the primary key is student ID, and that's fine. So I'm going to go. Great. I'm also going to insert. I'm going to insert, this is exactly what I had before, so I'm putting it back, all of my students. Go. Great. So now if we refresh, we should have my student table, exactly how we had it before, but now we have a primary key. Now, grades, I'm going to put the grades in here. So there's a primary key, like we said, student ID, but there's also a foreign key. Student ID refers to the student ID that's in table student. Now they don't have to have the same name, I just used the same name, but it refers to the attribute, the column, student ID in the student table. This is a foreign key. It must, so anytime someone inserts student, it must be in this table. So here, foreign key student ID references the student table's student ID. And I hit go. Good. And now I'm going to insert the rows in the table. Exactly how we had it before. Now if I refresh, go to grades, exactly what I had before. Now what I want to show you is I want to insert a student that doesn't exist in the student table. I want to try to give them a grade. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to do insert into grades. Now there was no student. I think we had 1 through 7, so I'm going to choose 10. I'll choose 9. So 9, we know 9 doesn't exist in the student table. I'm going to give them an 88. Oh, values. Okay, go. So you can see there's an error. You can't do that. There's a foreign key constraint that failed because there's no student 9 in the table. So beforehand this would have worked because this is an integer, it's a decimal, like it's fine. But now it's going to say it's a problem. There's no student 9, and this way you're putting this constraint that actually is good for your database to make sure no one makes an error, because accidentally